Hi, thank you for joining me. So happy that you're here. Hey, welcome to this week's live stream. If you're new here, I'm Debbie, and I help couples plan unforgettable destination weddings and romantic getaways. But today, we're talking about a different kind of romance, how to make the most of Valentine's Day without the stress or overpriced restaurants or the crowds. Now, as I record this, we're just about 2 weeks away from Valentine's Day. So we've got enough time to do some of these things. And let's be real, Valentine's Day can be really overwhelming. As I said, the restaurants are packed. There's prices skyrocket for certain things, and finding something unique can feel impossible, especially if you haven't planned months out. But the good news is you don't have to follow the trends. You don't have to follow the crowds. You can do whatever you choose to do. So that's today. I came up with 3 ideas that work for you, whether you're in a relationship or if you're single or if you want to celebrate with family, especially if you've got young ones at home. So before I dive in, I want to know, what has your experience been with Valentine's Day? Good, bad? I mean, the icky stories are always the ones that are really interesting to me. Personally, Valentine's Day comes and goes, and that maybe is more about my romantic status. But I'm always of the belief that you really don't need to follow the trends with everyone. Just because it's Valentine's Day is the time that you really show up. I mean, show up when you should show up, right? But it's a holiday. It's a Valentine's Day, and it's hard to go out and not see the big pinks and the reds everywhere. So I wanted to share these ideas with you. So the first one that I have is and remember, these are kind of unique and kind of out of, maybe not completely unique, but just a different way of thinking. And the first thing I want to share is, it's a romantic idea. So if it's you and your other half, and I made some notes here, so I'm going to read my notes. And this is a couple's scenic road trip to nowhere. To nowhere. The idea is that you plan this to almost sound like it's spontaneous, but it's not, because you've done some planning beforehand. And what it looks like is you and your other half, you're driving to a scenic destination. So you've got to figure out where you can go. Ideally, maybe somewhere an hour's drive from home, or maybe a little longer, depending on how you want to do this. But the key, the detail, the devil is in the details, right? You create a great playlist, something that works for you and for your other half. Maybe there's a song, or there's just a genre of music that he or she loves, or something that brings back memories, maybe something from your first date, maybe if you're married, your wedding song. Just certain songs instantly bring us back to certain places. But you want to create a playlist and plan this out. And this will be the length of the playlist is determined by the length of the road trip, right? So if you got an hour and a half road trip, that's an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back. You're going to need at least 3 hours of a playlist, right? Or several different playlists that kind of that can hit that mark, or maybe just loop one. But the playlist is important. You also want to pack some snacks and put some thought into this, because if one of you is driving, it has to be sort of easy food that maybe you can nibble on. But maybe you plan to stop somewhere and you have your snacks, but you want to have some snacks to go along with, and put some thought, not just again, keep it in mind, we don't want any road accidents here, but plan for something that's maybe a little out of the box. Non-alcoholic drinks, of course, if you're driving, but you can come up with some great mocktails that kind of add to the ambiance. So if you use apps like roadtripper.com, you want to plan out where you're going, the destination, right? Here in the DC area, there's a great show that comes on PBS called Get Out of Town. It's a mom and daughter duo, which I love. And they talk about different places that you can get to from within the Washington, DC metro area where I'm based, and driving distance. So look, we've got enough time. As I'm recording this, you've got enough time to plan this out. But even if you only have a few days, figure out the road trip. But the idea again is to make it spontaneous. So you have to make sure that both of you are available to do this. But not quite spontaneous, because you got to do a bit of pre-planning, but just don't make it seem like it's so regimented. As I record this, Valentine's Day is on a Friday this year. So Friday afternoon, or maybe that's a great day to take a vacation day or call out sick. Um, and the two of you just get driving for your scenic road trip to nowhere. Scenic is the emphasis also for the road trip. You want to go someplace where you're maybe not, where you haven't gone before, or someplace that road tripper says, or like I just mentioned, that resource for the get out of town, some places that you can go to that just offer some different things to kind of go to look at. So that's my first plan. Tell me what you think. Tell me if these are hits or if they're a miss for you. But a scenic road trip to nowhere, if you're in a relationship, they're somewhat romantic. I'm saying somewhat. Can you tell someone's not in a relationship? But that's an idea for you. All right. The next idea I have for you is if you're solo. Now, I know a few people that have done this. I know Courtney has done this, and that's it's the Galentine or the guys' night out or in. And this is where, you're not in a relationship, or you just choose not to be with your other half for the relationship. But you gather together and you're just having a girl or guys night in, right? Or could be out, but usually it's in some place. And this is a no pressure thing. This is it's not a, sometimes, one of the ideas I had was actually a solo one, but sometimes it can feel a little off because everyone's together, or it seems everyone's together and you're there solo. So I went down the trip and the road of doing a group event. And this is where you get everyone together and you build it around a theme. Now, Valentine's Day is the theme, and there are lots and lots of decor and very cute things to set up. You want to create that ambiance for your crew, right? For your team. But I think go an extra step and plan some things out. Plan out some games, perhaps, if it's going to be game night, a series of games. But what about a cooking night? What about an event where there's one big meal, maybe that has a lot of different pieces, or maybe one's responsible for the appetizer, one for the entree, but the idea is you're doing it together collectively. I know you can have everybody bring a dish, and I think that works well for the game night angle, right? But if you all congregate in some place that has a large enough kitchen, or even if the kitchen isn't large enough, that might even add to the fun. And you're going to attempt to put this meal together. I say attempt because I think the grander the meal, the more fun it is. And this depends on the head count. But like, say if it's just you and your girlfriend, or just three of you, maybe it's a smaller meal, or maybe it's you buy somebody brings in the entree, someone brings in the dessert, and collectively you guys make the entree, the main meal. Also, what about a wine tasting? If you like wine, then you collect wines that but maybe you're unfamiliar with, or a favorite of yours that maybe your friends are unfamiliar with, and you make it a wine tasting night. You bring your cheese, you bring your charcuterie, and make that part of the event. But you can do whatever you choose to, but the decor and the setting just brings in the Valentine's element. Guys, I don't know how guys think. I don't want to be stereotypical, but I don't know how guys feel about a guy's night in for Valentine's. I know some of the guys I know will be like, we're not doing that. So then maybe you go out collectively as a group. But I don't want to be stereotypical. Guys, if you're listening right now, tell me what your thoughts are about the guy's night in for Valentine's. Again, I know the girls, the females that are usually down with this for the Galentine, which I think is a great way to use to tie in with the word Valentine's Day. Janice is here. Thank you for joining us, Janice. Great to see you. And Janice says, I love the road trip to nowhere, and she also loves the show on PBS. Isn't it a great show? It's called Get Out of Town, a mom and daughter duo, and they're going to different places outside of the DC area. So can use that as your baseline But there are lots, if once you know how it is, once you start researching an idea, you kind of go down this rabbit hole of lots of different things that maybe you weren't even thinking about, that just sort of open up. And I think the road trip idea, if you start, you've got enough time now. As I say, record, we've got more than a week before Valentine's Day to figure this out. But come up with a road trip idea. And I think that could work out well for you. I'm glad you like that, Janice. Thank you. So that was the second idea I came up with. The Galentines, or the guys' night out or in. Just Court, the culprit who I was talking about. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us, Court. She says Galentines can be so much fun. It really can. It really can. It's quite. I haven't actually participated in it personally, but I know that you, Just Court, have told me about that. But you know, you've got so many resources. And there's so much cute stuff. Is it me that's getting old? I don't remember it being this way years ago. But I mean, a trip to Dollar Tree can inspire you to do so much. But if you're single and not, or even if you're not single, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Just Court, right, you had friends there who are in relationships but chose to do the Galentine thing. So that's an option for you. Any horror stories? I know I shouldn't go down that path, but I'm trying to think of any horror stories for my Valentines. I think it's more of I mean, I'm going to go on a limb. I find that a lot of times guys don't really think ahead, and then they panic at the last minute that they must do something. But you know, roses are unusual, unbelievably expensive. Restaurants, unbelievably crowded. Valentine's Day is, I mean, it doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day, right? You can celebrate the day before or the day after, especially when it hits close to a weekend like this. You can stretch it out. I think the key thing is, if you're picking another day, put some thought into it so it doesn't seem like you forgot and you're just trying to make up for it the next day. If you intentionally want to celebrate on the day after Valentine's Day, then do that. Heck, if you want to celebrate the week after Valentine's Day, say that. But maybe you just acknowledge on the day, or maybe you send a card. I'm thinking off the top of my head now, and you put in, you know, next weekend, I've got a great surprise for us. I just wanted to avoid the crowds, but I think you'll enjoy this. I mean, a dozen roses on February 13th and 14th versus a dozen roses on February 17th. There's a major difference in price, if we want to be honest and fair. So if you choose to go down that route, go down, you know, nobody gets to tell you how to do what you want to do. So think outside of the box, and let me know your thoughts about that. All right. The other idea that I came up with for Valentine's Day is, if you're at home and you have a family, especially young children, then you've got a few options. You can do something beforehand, or you can do something late night. But the idea that I have involves everybody being a part of Valentine's Day. And this is to have a fancy dinner at home, but restaurant style. So what I mean by that is, again, this is tailored to having younger children that haven't, you know, are still at home. Set up a fancy dinner. And when I say fancy, it doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be spaghetti, meatballs, if that's what you choose. But you make it restaurant style by using all of that fancy flatware and those plates and dishes that you have in that cabinet. Take those out, set up the table, put a tablecloth, set the table with the knives and the forks. Make it more of an ambiance. Have everybody dress up as though they were going to a restaurant. Depending on your head count for your younger children, have them serve as wait staff. Kids seem to love that angle. And make that meal like a restaurant style meal. And because you're not at a restaurant, you know, you're at home, you try to bring in those elements. I mentioned, you know, the food doesn't have to be extraordinary, but maybe you choose to create a menu, and you set out the menu so that everyone knows what's happening, and have courses, have appetizers, or as me, as I like to say, some horsey dervies. Put those out, appetizers. Maybe you have soup, salad, then you take that away, and then you have the main course, take that away, then you have the dessert, and then you take that away. So you have lots of options with regard to how you want to um, set up the meal. But again, you make it creative and you make it fun by involving everybody and having everybody dress up. Something happens when folks are dressed up. I think they sit up a little straighter. Or if it's for me, I just want to avoid dropping food down the front of my clothes. So I have to be more cognizant. Put the phones away. I know that sounds very unusual at this time. Put the phones down. I mean, okay, so you want to capture the moment and post it on social media. Capture the moment now and then post later. But I think we miss too much of what's going on in real time because we're trying to capture that moment. But have everybody um, sit down and enjoy the meal. Um, for some children, that may sound like punishment, but you want to make it fun. Maybe on the place settings, everybody writes down why they're, what they're grateful for and the gratitude that they have. I know that sounds very much like Thanksgiving here in the US, but I think any opportunity to share what we're thankful and grateful for makes sense. And you can do this for Valentine's Day also. So if you are in a situation where it's you, your other half, and the children, or maybe you have multi levels of your family, maybe there are grandparents involved and you want to include everybody, let's do a family dinner. You've got enough time to plan that out. I mean, if you want to make a big fuss like you do for Thanksgiving, I say go at it. I've noticed one of my favorite stores to shop in for groceries is Aldi. And my mom will tell you that I used to be an Aldi snob. That was long before I really knew what Aldi was about. Anyway, I noticed that as Valentine's Day is ramping up, even now, they have the different things are showing up. I saw lobster tails in the freezer section. They have very gourmet style dessert things in the freezer. I'm sure strawberries are starting to pop up. And so these are things that you can put together to make a little more than not elaborate, but a meal that goes the extra mile. All those elements are there. And if you plan enough time and you set that up, use your good plates and your good flatware, put a tablecloth on the table. You can get the fancy glasses. If you don't want to use real glass, I know you can get a lot of those. Is it plexiglass? Is that the right term? The glasses, I mean, because every time I touch a glass in the store I'm buying, I'm kind of like plucking it to see if it's glass, and a lot of times it isn't. Set those up, make some mocktails, make it look like wine, but it's not. Whatever you want to do, but make the effort, involve the children, explain why you're doing this. And I think this is another great way, just as you are as you might be in a restaurant, and set that up for Valentine's Day. It could be fun if you ask them to be the waiters, ask them to be the wait staff, so they've got to serve. I wish you well with that, but have them serve the food if you want it to be that way. And maybe that's fun for them to wait on you. But that's another idea I have for Valentine's Day. Now, I will tell you, I think I came up with about 3 or 4 for each. So 3 for solo, 3 for family, and 3 for romantic couples. And I'm going to post those on social media. I'm saying it out loud, so I must do it. I always say, and I don't do it. I'll post the others over the course of the next few days that lead up to Valentine's Day. But I'd love your thoughts and your feedback as to what you think about these ideas for Valentine's Day. What have you done? What are you doing? Well, first of all, are you celebrating Valentine's Day? Let's talk about that. Janice, you're here. Just Court, you're here. Are you planning to do something for Valentine's? But how about this? Post a heart emoji if you're planning to do something for Valentine's, and post what I want to say. What can I say if you're going to say if you're not doing anything? I say heart if you're doing Valentine's Day, and just a solo person if it's just no. I don't want to do it that way either. I don't know. Just let me know if you're what your plans are for Valentine's Day, or not doing something. I'm curious to hear more. Janice says he's the one that loves these events and holidays. I have to ask him not to buy 5 Valentine's cards, but that's his thing. And he cooks, but I'm going to try something different. Ah, okay. So Janice, clearly you're talking about your other half. So he loves the events, and so yeah. She says she has to ask him not to buy 5 Valentine's cards, because I think sometimes guys tend to go overboard, don't they? It's like I mean, bless his heart. I mean, they're getting the stuffed toy, and they got to get the flowers, and they got to get the cards, and sometimes it's just their way of expressing. And again, I'm being stereotypical, guys. If you're listening and telling me I'm talking nonsense, if you if what I'm saying is not true, then correct me. But it seems to be either one or the other. Either they totally space out and they forget, and then, or the other half, or the other, it's the other way. They kind of go overboard, um, and do a whole lot of things. But if it's all in display of love, I say, what more could you ask for? But see if you can think a little differently this year. And a lot of it comes down to planning and saying, hey, I know we normally do this. Let's try this year. Or like the road trip thing. It sounds pretty basic, but that can be a lot of fun if you plan it the right way. Let me know where it is that you're going, what you're doing, um, where you're headed to, how you can sort of expand on these ideas. I really want to hear more. Um, Janice says, drives me mad. Have you seen how much cards cost? Yeah, exactly, right? Unless you go to Aldi, they're 99 cents. I got one the other day. Buy jewelry. Oh, is that what you're saying? You want jewelry? You saying you want jewelry? Is that what you're saying? I want to make sure I understand. Yeah, I mean, jewelry is another thing that you can do for Valentine's Day. And there's also the option to another thing that happens a lot of time. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Between Thanksgiving here in the US and Valentine's Day, between that window of time, end of November, mid and February, that's the time when most wedding proposals take place. So there's also the opportunity for those who are not married, or betrothed or engaged. Did I say betrothed? I'm aging myself. That Valentine's Day is the day when someone's going to get down on one knee and propose. So that may be something that's coming. And if you're thinking that's coming, be ready. But that's also something that's very popular around Valentine's Day. Um, Janice says not necessarily, and I think that's in response to my question about jewelry, if you should buy jewelry. Um, but yeah, so those were my thoughts. Again, the first one was, to do the road trip if you're a couple. Galentine or guys' night in if you're doing the friends thing. If you're solo and you don't want to, or choose not to, or don't have the option to go out with someone. I mean, so, and one of the options, I'll tell you, one of the other ideas I had for this was just to treat yourself, was just to do, check in someplace, whether it's the spa or whether it's that hotel you always wanted to go to, and check in and do get your spa treatment, um, and just pamper be you and do things on your own. I found that some people are uncomfortable with that. They feel a little odd to be in an environment by themselves when everybody else is coupled up. It's like going to a sandals resort by yourself, which you really can't do unless you are a travel advisor, and everyone's in pairs and it's just you. So the Galentines or guys night out or in is an option. If no one in your group has come up with this idea, you come up with this idea. Start now. Plan for the Galentines. If you find the location, find the happy medium, which is who has the space to do this. If you can't do that, check out Airbnb. That's a great place to do this. Find an Airbnb. If you can't find an Airbnb, one of the easy ways to do this is and Valentine's Day is on a Friday this year, so it should be easy for you, is to get to one of those, the hotels that do the long stay, because they have a kitchen area and a living room area, and they have the rooms. If it's 3-4 of you, whatever the maximum is for that space, rent one of those and do the Galentine's thing or the guys' night in. Just the key is to find the hotels that are for the long-term stay, that have the kitchen and the living room area. I think it just would be weird for all of you to crowd up into a room with just a bed or 2 beds. You want the living area, and if you have the kitchen area, they normally have the pots and the pans and all of that. Do your Galentine's there. And again, Valentine's Day is a Friday this year, so that should be pretty easy to do, because a lot of those places cater to the business crowd, and a lot of those folks will be heading home on Friday. So get one of those rooms now. And then, of course, the last idea, which I just talked about, was the the dinner idea at home, restaurant style. But tell me what it is you have in your mind, what you're planning to do, if you're just skipping Valentine's altogether, and share that with me. I will post some of the other ideas that I have. I'll make the commitment to Facebook, Instagram. I'll try to do something on Instagram. But yeah, let's see what we can come up with. Let's see. Who's here? Arnold is here. Hi, Arnold. Arnold Amarez. He's from the sound like an idiot. From the idiot, sorry. The Philippines. Great to see you here. Thanks for joining us, Arnold. We're talking about Valentine's Day and how we're choosing to celebrate in a unique way. So Arnold, let us know if you're celebrating for Valentine's Day. Let us know what you've got planned, if anything, and if there's anything unique that that is coming to mind. But thank you for joining me. I'm really happy that you're here. All right. So for our next live coming up, which is a week from now, because it's most Sundays at 3 p.m. until the time until we do the daylight saving thing switch, and then we'll switch. It'll be a different time frame. But what I want to share, what I want to talk about next week is Babymoons. Are Babymoons. Is Babymoons? The topic is Babymoons. I don't know if you're familiar with what they are. I've had some questions, so let's get into that. If you or someone you know has already has done the baby moon, I want to hear more about that. Tell me what your experience was there. If you just have questions, like someone said to me, but wait, you're talking about going traveling and you're pregnant. Aren't you limited to your travel? Can you fly if you're pregnant? So we're going to knock out some of those myths. But next time we want to talk about baby moons. So if you or someone you know has questions or has done their own baby moon or has helped someone plan the baby moon, please share. That would be interesting. Okay. All right. So I want to thank you. Just remember, Valentine's Day doesn't have to be about grand gestures or whether you're only, and following what mainstream says you should be doing. Whether you're celebrating as a couple, with kids, or solo, the most important thing is to create happy memories. And if you can't sneak away this time on Valentine's Day, there's always next year, right? Heck, there's next week, there's next month. You don't need the calendar to tell you how to display and when to display love. If you want to do Galentines in the middle of April, I say do Galentines in the middle of April. We've all heard that term Christmas in July. Do it when you want to do this. You don't have to fall prey to the whims of the commercial companies that are charging more for flowers and charging more for chocolates and things like that. Janice says, and in response to, I think this is my question about baby moon, she said she just learned about them and didn't know they were a thing. Yeah, they're a thing. I haven't planned one yet, but apparently, yeah, you can do the baby moon thing, and yeah, it's a thing. Janice says, can we see the tree? You're talking about the forever tree. The forever tree. I think this is what you're referring to. This is the forever tree. So what I have this is a pink Christmas tree, and it has the Valentine's topper, but I've decided that I'm keeping it up year round. So I don't know if I bring this in close enough, you can see that the decor is actually for Valentine's. So this is the tree, the forever tree. And as best I can, it'll be up for most of the year. But thank you for asking. Yeah, the Valentine's tree. Next time it'll be the St. Patty's tree, and then it'll be the Easter tree, then it'll be the July 4th tree or Memorial Day tree, and I'll keep going, and so on and so on and so on. Thank you for asking, Janice. Thank you. Cody said it's cute. Thank you. My forever tree. So the tree stays up. Janice says yes. So if that's what you're asking about. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. If there's any way I can help you with whatever you're thinking for romance for a wedding, for travel, please reach out. You can learn more at hitchedaway.com and just set up a time to call. I really appreciate all of your live comments from Just Court, from Janice, and from Arnold, all the way in the Philippines. I thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next week when we'll be talking about Babymoons. Take care, be safe, love and success.